You're watching Friday Special, and I'm Faisal Rahman from our Islamabad studios. Today we'll be talking about something really important and something I think which I really consider as a backbone of any country, and that is about the education. Whether you talk about the primary education, or you talk about the college level education, or you talk about the higher education like in universities, we always were told that university is a place where new information or knowledge is created. But unfortunately, what we have witnessed in most of the countries in the third world, or in the region rather, is that new knowledge is not being created. Rather, we have been taught to get good grades as far as the knowledge is concerned, which is already existing. A. Secondly, when you talk about Pakistan and the standard of education, there are different kinds of education you can get according to the amount of money you spend on that. Let's start off from madrasa education. A lot of students go to madrasa. There's nothing wrong going there. But when we talk about this as 2018, almost the end of the second decade of this particular century. But having said that, are we geared up? Are we ready? Are we totally capable of competing at the international level in the global arena? Another very important aspect. Then you talk about your standard of education as far as your 18th Amendment is concerned. If you remember, it has become a provincial subject. So when you compare Balochistan with Punjab, or Punjab with KPK, or KPK with Sindh, obviously you will see different standards. Then comes your government education system. That is also something of prime concern, because at the level of the cities, it could be very different. It is indeed very different. But when you talk about Sindh or certain other areas, or far-flung areas of Balochistan, they're ghost schools where the teachers hardly exist, though they are on the payroll. And so the case with the students. You talk about the facilities being provided to them in the form of bathroom or clean drinking water, or a facility where they can sit and study, or even a chair for that matter. That is again a big question and a big question mark as well. You talk about the private sector. Obviously, whenever there is a void, there is a vacuum that is going to be filled in by the private sector. But private sector primarily is indeed providing education, but at the same time, it has become a business now. The more you pay, the better schooling you will get. But what is the exact definition of better schooling? Again, we are more concerned about the grades. Sports hardly exist. I'll give you some very basic data before we start our conversation, and I'll introduce you to our guest. This launch of Pakistan National Human Development Report, it said that 29%, almost one-third, there is no education for them. 6%, 12 years plus of education. 6% have access to library. 7% have access to sports facility. 2.2% education is there, though it was supposed to be 4% according to what the United Nations, Pakistani government has promised to the United Nations and to Mr. David Cameron, who was the, I remember, Special Envoy of Education. Hardly 1.5% is spent. We do not have the capacity, or maybe it is the issue of the release of funds. Then you talk about grade-oriented versus the knowledge-based curriculum. That is again something very different, because we are having different curriculums in different provinces and in different school systems also. You talk about medical education. A lot of licenses were granted to various private sectors, colleges and universities, but the standard has gone down. You talk about youth, demographic dividend versus demographic disaster. What sort of challenges do we have? You talk about Millennium Development Goals or Sustainable Development Goals. Where do we stand as far as the region is concerned? We haven't been able to achieve any of those as well. So these are the major issues we'll try to highlight in our today's program. Let me first get you introduced to our panelists. We have with us Professor Dr. YasinZai Saab. He is the Rector of Islamic International University. So thank you very much. And we have with us Mohammad Raza Chohan Saab. He is the DG Academics Higher Education Commission. So thank you very much. And a little while we'll be joined in by Dr. Abid Qayyum Suleri Saab, who is the Executive Director of SDPI. So let's start off from you, sir. First of all, your take on this particular report which was launched. And where do we stand, sir? Obviously, you're the rector of one of the best universities in Pakistan at the moment. And earlier you were telling me that the overall strength as far as the students are concerned, that is around 30,000. That's a big number. Your take, sir, on this particular point.
Well, I must say, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, I must say that the data which is presented regarding that report, that is very alarming over there. But one thing is for sure, the the report that they have presented on the Human Development Index, that is directly related to the education. I mean, for example, in Islamabad, that is the highest, and in the FATA region, it is the lowest. Among the provinces, Punjab is on top, and Balochistan is on the lower part of it. But if you compare the education, the enrollment, you will find that it is exactly, that correlates very well. The problem here is that if you look at the enrollment growth rate is less than 1%. And if you keep that in mind, that this less than 1% enrollment growth rate, that would mean that we need another half century to be able to say, to claim that we have no child out of the school in this country.
And it should be definitely much more than your population growth rate.
Oh yes, much higher to cover that gap, because you have to cover the gap over there. But you are lagging far behind that, so the gap widens with time. So this is one of the reasons that we need to concentrate. And you know, the other reason is, this is the responsibility of the state to educate. And this has been promised in the Constitution also. But if we compare the commitment, if we look at the commitment with what we say in the Constitution, we see gap over there. I mean, if you look at the total overall index, out of 195 countries of the world, there are only 14 countries who are contributing less for education than Pakistan.
So that tells us about the priority of the government.
The priority of the government. The priority must change. The priority must change towards education. We need education emergency in this country. And also, now there are positive signs also, because International Islamic University is directly involved in that effort with the government, that we are trying to streamline, because there are about 22 lakhs of these students in the madrasas today, in Pakistani madrasas today. We are trying to bring them in the mainstream. And you will be very happy to know that in Pakistan today, there are many madaris who have started the education, the otherworldly education, Asri Talim that we call it, for their students. In the evenings, they also have started teaching English, history, mathematics, and all these subjects, science subjects, they've started teaching them. So that the students, because it will be an integration in the end, an integration of the worldly subjects with all the other dini ulum. It will be kind of the integration. And if we succeed in doing that, believe me, we are going to produce a workforce in this country who will be knowing their religion and who will be doing their beautiful muamalat in this country, and who can earn for themselves a very respectable earning for themselves. They will not be dependent on the society.
They won't be sidelined.
Yeah, they will never be sidelined.
Unfortunately, I happen to...
They will never be used by others.
To get to know that, so many students, they have this issue that, their masters is of 18 years in the madrasa, as compared to 16 years of education in normal universities. And they still believe that, despite having that education where they do not cheat, that is against the norms, against the values, and still when it comes to, regarding a job, I mean, they are not preferred. Rather, somebody else is going to be preferred on them. This is very, very unfortunate, but this is unfortunately reality. So, talking about Higher Education Commission, first of all, sir, let me welcome Dr. Abid Suleri Saab, sir. Thank you very much, Dr. Saab, for taking out your time. Earlier, we were having a discussion regarding the challenges which are being faced as far as education is concerned in Pakistan, and obviously about the report as well. Now, let's talking about the Higher Education Commission. First of all, sir, the budget allocation, what is the percentage of money you have recently spent, you can actually spend? And when we talk about quality teachers, mostly so what we have witnessed over a period of time, I'm not talking about the last few years, but yes, that is indeed a lot better than what it used to be earlier, that most of the teachers, they're not paid that well. And obviously you're talking about quality education that only comes with quality of available human resource as far as your teaching is concerned. The gap in that, the challenges, and what sort of remedies the HSC is looking at, sir?
Yeah, thank you very much for posing this question, sir. First of all, let me candidly say that we are confronted with twin manners. One is to provide larger access to the large youth, which is around 41%. And it will become a blessing provided if we give them a proper training and development so that they can be engaged in socio-economic development of the country. On the other hand, we are confronted with quality issues. For that, we have already embarked upon various initiatives wherein faculty trainings, wherein provision of scholarships to the faculty to get acquainted with the latest knowledge, to provide them travel grants, to provide them various opportunities to be engaged with the research development activities which are really needed in the universities to create some knowledge. As you very much aware that previously in 2002 we used to publish only 800 publications yearly, but today our publications are around 12,000 to date. So the number of publications from our country, from our academia is increasing. At the same time, in 2016 there was a report published by BRIC that there is a brick in the wall, that Pakistan has crossed Brazil, Russia, India and China in terms of having a good citation index, or the papers cited from Pakistan were more as
better than those countries of BRICS,
compared
right?
to those those 4 countries. So to an extent we are embarking on that, and we have already embarked through 3 policies. One is to provide access, second is to embark upon quality, and third is to embark upon relevance. So we have also initiated some programs wherein the industry, academia and the we also conduct some research in social science chapters as well, wherein our faculty do research with the stakeholders, with some policy institutions, think tanks, to provide some contemporary issues, solutions to the contemporary issues of Pakistan. So there is a great movement going on in higher education sector. And secondly, you asked the question of budgeting. Yes.
Budgeting and teachers also, sir, the quality of teachers.
Yeah.
Professors.
Yeah. With respect to higher education, teaching faculty, we launch 4 programs for faculty development a year, in which 120 faculty members are trained, wherein
So that also comes under the HEC?
Yeah, that's an HEC's endeavor, wherein we provide a 2 months residential training to faculty. Supposedly, I'm an engineer, so I must know how to teach and how to assess and how to plan and how to
because professionally, if you're correct, you're 100%, there. But when it comes to transferring that knowledge, that totally needs a different set of skills.
Yeah, true. You're very true. So we need to look at it.
A good pilot might not be a good instructor.
Can I jump in there?
Please, sir.
Yeah, sorry. The problem, where the problem lies, the actual problem. In Pakistan, in Pakistani universities today, we have got 41,000 teachers in the 188 universities of the country. And out of these 41,000 teachers, only 11,000 have a PhD degree. At the university level, less than a PhD is never counted a qualification for teaching at the university
But sir,
level.
also the question is that what is the quality of PhD?
Yes, that is a different question. Now we are talking about just the number. I mean, internationally, less than a PhD degree is never counted as a faculty at the university level. This is one problem or one issue that Pakistani universities are facing.
Even for an associate professor, sir?
Even for assistant professor
an associate
or a
professor cannot become associate without a PhD degree. So in our country, the professors and associate professors are very, very few in number. Time is coming, and HEC is putting that bars over there because they are raising the bar over there. After a couple of years, there won't be any assistant professors without a PhD degree.
So, but so are we moving in the right direction?
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
it is.
We are
it
moving.
is.
I'll just come back to you. So let me engage Dr. Abid Suleri here, sir. Obviously, the nature of your job set is very diversified. Education is also a part of it. And it is largely believed that those nations which are not properly educated, they do not grow. Sir, first of all, about the budget allocation, because I still remember it was supposed to be 4% by this time, sir. It's still not. And second, about the capacity to spend it, sir. Like the kind of budget we get for the development purposes, for example, we always get to know that, it was, let's suppose it was 500 billion rupees, eventually 320 was spent, rest 180 wasn't during the 5 years or during that particular 360 days, because we never had the capacity. Second, about the release purposes, the release of money, sir. Dr. do you think these are the two major issues? A, capacity, B, the availability of funds?
I think I'll slightly look at it from a different perspective. Allocation, releases, budget, that is something different. But let's try looking at the problem from the output perspective. What is it that we achieve, whatever is allocated and whatever is released and whatever is spent. Now the Human Development Report that is released yesterday, day before yesterday. So that's sort of an eye-opener when it comes to, not certainly Higher Education Commission, about the education. So that's an eye-opener when it comes to education. And it tells us how the youth, they feel in Pakistan, what does it mean being a youngster in Pakistan, the chances of getting educated, the chances of getting a job, the chances of getting absorbed in job market, etc., etc. Now, let me look at it as an employer. So, when I interview the postgraduate or graduate students produced in Pakistan or maybe from abroad, I come across two lot of people, two sets of the applicants. One who are educated abroad or who are educated in the top-notch private institutions of Pakistan. Second, who are educated in public sector education system in Pakistan. And I see a dichotomy in both of them. One lot, the private sector educated children, they can speak excellent English, they can write excellent English, but when it comes to relate to ground realities, very often they don't know the ground realities of Pakistan, and it becomes extremely difficult for them to relate their theoretical knowledge with the ground realities.
When you talk about the ground realities, what exactly do you mean, Dr.
It's, for example, the state of poverty, it's the state of climate change.
The fundamentals, basically, you're talking about?
Fundamentals, the fundamental problems, the fundamental challenges facing Pakistan's economy, facing Pakistan's society, etc. Then I interview the candidates who are educated in public sector education system. So most of them, they are actually going through the same realities. They are facing all these challenges on a day-to-day basis, but it becomes extremely difficult for them to narrate, to write, to explain.
They can't express.
To explain, to express so not only in English, but sometimes in Urdu as well. And I think that dichotomy is a major difference. So we are somehow producing one set of candidates or one set of people, maybe minority of them in terms of percentage, who have the chance to go to the best of the best education institutions in Pakistan, abroad. Very often they become part of our bureaucracy, they become part of our technocracy, they become part of our corporate sector, they become part of our think tanks, and they don't know what the real problems that Pakistan society, Pakistan's country, Pakistan's economy is facing.
But Doctor, what about the third category, if I may intervene? The ones who went abroad to study and came back and eventually ended up in a corporate sector or elsewhere.
Their major problem is again the training at the basic level, and the basic level is analytical skills and writing skills still remains one of their major problem. Many times those who get either scholarship or some other sources and they go abroad for their higher education, when they come back, they still lack this analytical skill, and that is our second issue. Our second issue is the quality of faculty members at the universities. I can argue that in our universities, due to this musical chair between martial law and democracy, we never encouraged our students to ask critical questions in the universities, especially in the public funded universities. And the teachers, they still have the same self-censored, self-imposed censorship on them.
The mindset.
The mindset, so they know, okay, you can talk about it, but
this is the red line.
This is the red line, and this is a taboo. Don't cross that bridge. And that leads to a situation where we have a mismatch between what we are producing in universities and what is required by the market. So now if in the market,
so we are still not market oriented in that way.
Yes, so our education is still not market oriented. We are talking of entering into fourth industrial revolution, and we are talking of an economy which would be based on artificial intelligence and an economy which would be based on all virtual and cyber spaces, and a corporate sector, and of course e-governance and online government and whatnot. So on one hand it's happening, so even I can argue that even in a rural area, this Easy Paisa, Re-Paisa, or whatever the schemes by different cellular companies, people they are getting benefit of it. People they are 24/7, they are on Facebook, they are on YouTube, etc. So on one hand,
2 billion users of Facebook.
Yeah. So on one hand, they are very IT oriented, and they are making use of IT.
And again, let me also share this, that only 7% they have access to your internet. 7%. That's nothing.
Yeah.
That's like 1 out of 14.
Yeah. So basically, if from our universities, if we don't produce the type of people which are required in the market, it would be extremely difficult for us to be an Asian tiger or Vision 2025 that among the top 10 economies of the world that we envision to be. Another problem that we are facing now, we have very limited think tanks in Pakistan, and I can argue that we don't need any think tanks in Pakistan if our universities they were working well. So
because university level is
so
the actual think tank,
all the postgraduate students
when you do research,
all the postgraduate graduate students of any subject, be it's economy, be it's philosophy, be it's anthropology, be it's basic sciences. All
Doctor, one more quick comment, and I think that rather a question to you and as well as to Dr. Sahab here. When we talk about plagiarism, sir, mostly because earlier we were having a word that most of these students, they are more concerned about the grade rather than actually understanding the concept of that particular subject or that particular chapter. They're more focused towards achieving an A+, because that is eventually going to result in a better GPA. The point is that over here, cut, copy, paste. When we did our masters, I mean, I'm talking about mid-90s, there was no internet as such at that time. But the interesting part was that I think the internet was there, but wasn't as fast as this one. But having said that, the interesting part was that this cut, copy, paste ideology never existed. But now I see that you can make a term paper like this in 2 days, whereas it used to take at least 3 months at that time. Don't you think that is also something of prime concern, sir, that let's teach the kids that forget about the grade. Grade is also important, but if you're if you have a good grip over the subject, that matters more, because that is eventually going to help you in the longer run. Because I've seen that average GPA graders did much better than those who used to be top.
Faisal, I won't name the university, but only 6 months ago I was in a university where the students, they were complaining that many of them, they got D grades because the teacher had the objection that the students didn't copy the answers according to the notes that he provided. So in an education system where you discourage critical thinking and where you discourage
out of the box solutions,
this cut, copy, paste, it would remain one of the mantra of getting good grades. So and as I already said, that unless and until we teach our faculty to promote critical thinking and teach our faculty to promote creative writing, teach our faculty to actually encourage students providing out of the box solution, they would have to follow some sort of notes, they would have to follow some sort of previous term papers or old thesis, and they would keep on doing plagiarism. So it is again the system that encourages them to plagiarize or not to plagiarize.
All right. So your take on that part, sir.
The problem is exactly what you said, that we as the government, as the leaders in the academia, our utmost effort is to bring in the people to the university, the students to the university. And we think that our job is done if we just bring them in without concentrating on what are they going to achieve once they are there in the university. This is the problem. On the part of the student is all the time, he will use each and every way over there. He will try each and everything to get good grades over there. No matter what, he is only interested in that. He is not interested in the knowledge part of it. The teacher, unfortunately, has left his job over there. Like Dr. Saab just mentioned, a teacher did not give the grades because they did not copy his notes exactly as he wished. That is why the students need. Where is that interactive teaching? Where is that classroom environment where the teacher's role is that of a facilitator? Because he should throw the problem to the students over there and he should just facilitate them. It will create interactive kind of teaching, and in the end, the students, no student would need to plagiarize it. No student would need to cut paste for his assignment or for his term report, whatever he is asked to do over there. The problem here is that now in our classrooms, those less glamorous pursuits, they are missing. Where is the classroom environment and the classroom teaching? Where is that role modeling? Where is that mentoring? Where is the extracurricular activities? How about the sports activities for the students? These are all missing now from the universities setup, from the educational institutions setup. We have been put, the teacher is put now on the how many papers can you publish? And your paper can be published in the impact factor journal or not. How much impact factor does your paper carry? This is not the right metrics. This is being proved now in case of Pakistan.
So the parameters to judge the capacity or the capability of a teacher, they need to change.
Yes, that needs to change. And for Pakistan as a country, we need to change. We need to move from impact factor to the impact on society. If I am a researcher, if I have done some research, what is the impact of that research on my society? What have I done for the society? In Pakistan, the problem is this, publication. Publication is meant only to share your information with your peers. This is just the sharing of information with your peers internationally. Here in Pakistan, we consider it as the end product. If I have published a paper, I have done my job. Relax now. You have got 15 publications. You can easily become a professor. You don't need to do more. This is not the case worldwide. In the developed world, they don't do these publications for this purpose. Nowhere in the world.
So what's the criteria of promotion there, sir?
No, it is the productivity. It is the productivity. What is the impact of your research on that institution and on the society? It is that one. And even in countries like Egypt, I went over there to study their system. They have got at a national level a committee. They will never consider your individual, these ones. What is your overall impact?
Collective impact.
Yes, a collective impact. If you are coming to take a chair of a professor, if you are a candidate for that, they will look at your all-round contribution. That what contribution have you made? But in Pakistan, I look at 8 publications and 15 publications. Then by hook or by crook, I want to complete those. And if I do complete those 15 publications,
but that's a prerequisite, unfortunately,
nobody can stop me from becoming a professor. This is the problem. This is the issue. And this is the issue. Why don't we become relevant? Why our universities do not become relevant? Dr. Saab just mentioned that the product you are sending to the market, there is a big gap between the product you are sending and the end user. The end user says, I don't need them because they do not carry those skills which I need, which my industry needs. This is the problem. We have to become relevant. We have to revisit this higher education. We have to revisit the whole system. This system is wrong. We need to revisit this one. And I have been fighting this case throughout in every university. I mean, fighting
So
my case
obviously,
with my
because
teachers
in
and
marketing they say you
everybody.
need to get market oriented. You need to understand the market, you need to understand the needs and the wants, and then you develop a project, because the marketing is not only selling. Marketing means exactly how to design, what sort of a product it should be, and then you deliver, and then you need to have a backup plan, a contingency plan. If it doesn't work, then what? Unfortunately now, sir, coming back to the two questions for you. A, sir, about exactly the same debate, you need to take that further. And secondly, when you evaluate a student or a teacher for that matter, what are the parameters, what are the prerequisites? Are they outdated ones, or don't you think that they need to change every decade or every half a decade, I would say?
I think first of all we have to look at our entire system of curriculum development, its delivery and discourse.
Who does this? Who does the curriculum development, sir?
For the higher education sector, for the universities, primarily the HEC develops
And you have a
the
board for that?
national curriculum for all the disciplines which are on board at the universities through the national curriculum review committees, wherein different stakeholders, faculty members, academia.
So primarily, sir, for example, I'm talking about the private medical schools.
Yeah.
So obviously the same subjects, anatomy, whatever they teach. And then who monitors the quality of education there, sir?
So
Because if there are no labs, nothing, I mean, you got the, because I personally know, I will not name the medical schools, but I know exactly the owners have given how much money to which minister during which tenure to obtain that the license, and now they are just minting money. Somebody is paying 20 lakhs, somebody is paying 40 and doesn't even appear in the exams. I swear by God, sir.
Yeah, you are right to an extent, but there are some good institutions to whom we can give examples as well, even in public as well as in private sector, where good quality education is being imparted and good students are coming up. And as Dr. Saab has very much clearly indicated, 4 critical requirements of the future. One is to communicate, second is to collaborate, and third is to create. Critical thinking, and third is to create something. So these are the 4 basic skills which a future student would require to come up to the expectations and the aspirations of the employment market as well as of the society. So these would be the 4 for which I think the teacher is the main team player to cultivate these kind of parameters into his or her student, so that they should be able to meet our future requirements. As you know, the agricultural revolution is over, the industrial revolution is almost passing by, and we are in an era where we are facing, as Dr. Saab has mentioned, the digital revolution, and we are also foreseeing
Human capital is what
human
is the name of
capital
the game,
is the
sir.
key,
Now.
the key, and there would be AI revolution after this 4th digital revolution.
AI stands for
Artificial intelligence.
Okay.
So there would be a lot of challenges where we have to prepare students who would be meeting those requirements. And even I would say the university structure, even down the road, maybe after 20 years, it would change. We would have to provide transnational education in Pakistan, and also to provide different platforms which are abroad, which are being used abroad as platforms of studying and assessing and all those. So through those mechanisms, we have to evolve our sector as a whole. So for the entire HE sector, the Higher Education Commission is working, and to an extent we have increased our access from 9%, from 2% to 9%, and we're mandated to increase it up to 15% by year 2025, though it seems to be optimistic or over-optimistic. But provided if we, as we have been requesting the government that they should provide 4% for the education. To date, as of the recent economic survey, it reflected that 2.2%. So hardly we are expanding 2% on education, which includes primary, secondary, and higher education as well. So we have to put more if we are envisioning so high. So for that matter, we are providing scholarships. We need money for that. We are opening up campuses as well as smart campuses. For that matter, we need money. And for that matter, we need ICT infrastructure.
So when you look at, for example, I mean, let's suppose 5 1,500 billion rupees budget. So 4% would mean something around 200 billion, right, sir? Currently, it's around 100 plus.
Sir, we are receiving.
So this is the similar amount they want to give to FATA every year, right, sir? And the same for the development purposes there. And when you look at the entire setup for the
Sector.
education of Pakistan from top to bottom, higher education is also included, sir? in
Yes,
this?
yes.
So you are looking at, I mean, how much is for higher education this year, sir? Around 40?
Sir, the
47.
47.
Yeah.
All right, sir. So you're left with how much? 53, maybe let's put it 60. Do you think 60 for a population? I'm sure it's not 220, it's 200, and because the growth rate is 3.2%. This is the figure. I don't know
Yeah.
what the government has done in the budget, but this is what the fact is. So you're talking about the youth. You know, it reminds me of that concept of baby boomers after the Second World War. So you're talking about maybe 4% growth in terms of population. And the 60 billion, or let's suppose next year it becomes 70 and then 80, is that enough?
I think it's not enough. We have to put more money for that matter, and at the same time we have to innovate. We have to design certain programs which are market oriented. We have to look at the CPAC challenges as well as every challenge, as everybody is aware.
More than
that
200
it will bring
PhDs
an
are being done
opportunity.
in China, sir, on CPEC.
Sir?
200 PhDs.
Yeah. And Pakistani students are also in China doing some good education on CPEC related subjects. And at the same time, there are interdisciplinary subjects which are coming into market, which will be future need also.
Also, one quick comment and then move on to Suleri Saab. Let me name that institute because, you know, otherwise there's no point asking this question. Institutions like Allama Iqbal Open University. This Open University concept where you do not even go to the university and you end up getting a master's degree, which is recognized by HSE. Do you think that's a wise approach, sir? I do understand that you can sit in a virtual university and do a course from Harvard because there is quality education and you'll learn something. But this Open University concept, sir, hardly 33% passing marks. I mean, what is this all about?
I think
Honestly speaking.
we have to look at at a wider perspective. When we are talking about providing a larger access to remote areas and to larger public, which is youth at the moment, so we have to provide various options to get access to the higher education sector. For that matter, we have
so this is what that
HEC.
purpose. A quick comment and then over to Suleri Saab.
Well, this question is asked at every forum now. Can you give somebody the experience of Harvard through a course which is being offered sitting in Pakistan? Can you give the Harvard experience to that individual? So same applies to that one. Can you make an all-round individual through only the open courses or through only the online courses? The answer is no.
Absolutely.
The answer is no.
Let me share a joke with you, Suleri Saab, before I ask you this question. I was in PTV during my previous tenure. It's been 7-8 years, maybe more. And somebody sent this girl to me that, you know, please adjust her in the business desk or, you know. And I said, what is the qualification? She said, the master's in English. Master's in English. I will not name the institution because this doesn't record this time. So anyway, so since there was a big safari, so I had to take, we took her to this conference where there were Japanese there. They were all investors. And so I gave her a set of questions in which one of the questions was about the investment climate of Pakistan. And my 2-3 guys were there along with the cameraman all. And I just got a phone call, I went out. When I came back, so I heard that Japanese talking about the hot weather of Taxila, where he went to see the stupas and all. And I said, what has got, I mean, it has got nothing to do with the question. So instead of asking her about the climate change, about the investment climate, she was asking about the weather in Pakistan. So this is, and she was a master's in English with the written question. This is the unfortunate part, Dr. Saab.
No, as I told you that unless and until we teach our students and our children critical thinking, we teach them and encourage them to ask questions, difficult questions, and we promote creative writing. Many of the situation that you mentioned just now, that would keep on happening, and it's not only limited to any particular institution. You will find there are some good students taught and brought up in public sector education system because of their own interest and because of their interest in extracurricular reading. One of the things that is hampering our youth and our next generations now is a lack of interest in reading and lack of interest in books.
That's true.
And literature and fiction and of course newspapers. So in
It's
order
more about surfing.
It's more about surfing.
Like, you know, you have the internet access, you can
gadgets.
Yeah.
So unless and until we promote this culture of library, and if you look at this UNDP report of a day before yesterday, if the youth is 100, the number of youngsters who ever get a chance to go to any library, it's 7.
Doctor, a quick comment, because we are totally running out of time. Quick comment regarding this very interesting aspect, which is about the youth. Obviously, you just mentioned about the books, the reading concept. Do you think that the world is going to be a totally different world, say another 12 to 15 years from now? Because the kind of change we have seen earlier in the last 20 years, that's unbelievable. And we need to get ready for that time.
No, it is about to change. When we say book now, it doesn't have to be this hardbound book. You can still have a digital book and read it, but the problem is
through Kindle.
Yeah, the Kindle. Or I didn't want to name the brand, but any of the digital book that you can get hold of it. This is free of cost. They are available on archives in the web. But we need to promote this culture of reading. If we really want our children and our youngsters to be all-rounder. In any interview, if there are 100 candidates, all of them, they would have almost similar sort of educational background and almost average grades. But what matters for the candidate
those who an edge are those who are
what else they know apart from their own subject.
Absolutely.
And those who know apart from their own subject.
It helps you grow your wisdom, your intellectual level. That's really important. But anyway, sir, I wish we had more time. We could have talked more. But Dr. Suleri, thank you very much. Professor YasinZai, it was a pleasure, sir. Dr. Abid again, once again, thank you very much. And Mohammad Raza Chohan, sir, DG Higher Education Commission. So thank you very much. We will definitely do more shows on this particular subject in the coming days. But let's see how we arrange it. But anyway, thank you very much for watching this program. I'll see you, inshallah, next week. Till then, you take good care of yourself. Have a great weekend. Khuda Hafiz from our side.